the ability to, have a mentor is extremely important, and we've all had them, and we all can be them. We all can be them. We all can be one. I always say there's plenty of people in front of us that we aspire to be, or we want to do the things that they're doing. And there's plenty of people that are behind us that aspire to get where we are or do what we do. So it's very simple. The people that are in front of us, you try to learn from them and have them be your mentors. And the people that are behind you, you say, hey, come here, let me show you some things, and you pay it forward. That's how we'll hopefully continue to, raise the bar.
Welcome back for another podcast. Today, I have a guest that is a fellow Floridian. He's someone that I met just over a year ago, I would say. He is a former WWE wrestler. You'll find him in a movie that you may watch this weekend or not. It's up to you. And he's also a master educator for Viper and Institute of Motion, which is how I met him and we came in contact. And he's a fellow Fit Pro in the same South Florida area as me. And now we get to see each other a couple times a week. And it's been just a gradual growth in relationship. So it's been cool. And I'm excited to have him on today. Mr. Giovanni Roselli, how are we doing?
I'm good, Dylan. Thanks for having me. It still feels weird when someone calls me a Floridian. I don't feel like I'm a Floridian. I'll always be a New Yorker at heart, but my driver's license says Florida, so I guess we'll go with that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm the same way. To paint a picture for everybody, I think that's a pretty good place to start. What brought you down to Florida, and how long have you been here?
I've been here, I think a little over 5 years, maybe 6 years now. My wife got a really good job offer down here. She's a teacher. She works primarily with dyslexic children. So she has a very specific skill set. So it was too good to pass up, and I didn't want her to pass it up. So you got to be a good spouse, be a good husband, happy wife, happy life, as they say.
Yep, I haven't experienced that yet, but I've heard that.
And I said, no, not yet. You will. And we said, hey, let's go for it.
Nice. And what part of New York were you in?
Westchester County in White Plains. So it's like the suburbs. It's like right outside New York City. It's about on an express train, it's like about 35 to 38 minutes from where I was living into New York City. So I wasn't working primarily in New York City, but I was always doing a lot of work in New York. And that's where I would also do, like you mentioned, when I would do some acting and some auditions, and even when I did a lot of heavy work for Equinox, and I would go in there. So yes, I was in New York quite a bit.
Yeah. So what is the number one thing you miss about New York now being here in Florida?
Number one thing I miss about New York. Well, the easy answer is my family. So I don't have any family down here. Zero, nobody. Which is hard because I have a 3-year-old daughter, and a lot of people want to see her, play with her, be with her. So that's obviously the thing.
Yeah, valid point. I feel you on that. With obviously, I live here with Haley and everything, and I have a sister and a niece that live a couple hours north. But 2 brothers, parents, both still up in Rhode Island. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody up there. So
you're one of 3. You're one of 3 brothers.
One of 3 brothers, yeah, and 2 sisters, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a weird dichotomy family tree. There was my parents were both married previously. They both had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and each one. They both got divorced. Boom, they got married, had me. So I'm I'm at the back of the flying V, you could say.
Okay.
Coordinating the geese, trying to get them to flock in the same position.
The flying V, that brings up the Mighty Ducks. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you know that.
Oh, that
If
was
someone mentions the flying V, then you better automatically think of the Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks, without a doubt. That's my childhood, and I played hockey when I was younger, so that was like everything to me. That was the first sport I actually really took up when I was like 3 or 4. I took up ice skating.
When you took the workshop with me,
Mm-hmm.
or did you ever hear me talk about the story of how Viper was created?
No. So to give everyone some clarification, so I took an Institute of Motion workshop with Giovanni, and I don't even know how I came across it. I think I came across you.
We were just friends on Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah. And but the
And
reason
I'm not sure how that happened, but
the reason I mention that is because Viper was originally created through the lens of looking at hockey players.
okay.
That's why I don't know if I ever told you that story or
No.
heard that story. So I'll tell it now. It seems like
Please do. Yeah, this is a good
time to tell it. So there's two very wise gentlemen, Michel Daucourt, he's a biomechanist, and Simon Bennett, who's a strength and conditioning coach. And they were up at Canadian hockey camps, semi-professional, just kind of scouting and looking at all the athletes. And they noticed that there were certain athletes that were bigger, faster, and stronger than other athletes. Mm-hmm. And that there was certain teams of athletes that would be beating the crap out of another team or other teams. So the obvious question was, okay, wow. The guys that keep winning and the guys that keep beating everyone off the puck and are faster, where are they from? What are they doing? And the guys that are losing and the guys that are slow and the guys that are getting injured, what are they doing and where are they from? It turns out that one of the teams was from the farm and another team was from the city. So who do you think wins when the farm kids take on the city kids?
Farm kids.
Farm kids. We get farm strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the idea of kind of loaded movement training, and which is basically training with load sub-maximally. Mm-hmm. And they were moving kind of studios, and there was a piece of rolled up carpet, and then someone happened to knock it down. And when they knocked it down, they kind of looked at it and then picked it up, and then said, we can kind of exercise with this thing, right? So just from looking at a piece of rolled up carpet, they took at, well, what if we put handles on this thing? And then
mm-hmm.
we can reach and we can move and we can do stuff with it. What if we grab it wide? What if we grab it narrow? What if we grab one hand in the middle and one hand wide, and we have all these different hand positions? What if we just tilt it? We don't have to pick it up. And then that's how kind of Viper was created, with the mindset of what makes farm kids bigger, faster, stronger than the city kids? Well, the farm kids are moving throughout the day. And they're moving in these omni-dimensional, multi-planar type of directions, where every rep, every task, and that's why we call it task specific, it's not muscle specific. Every task is a little different. So when I have to go pick up the hay, my right foot will be slightly in front of my left. My right shoulder will be a little lower than my left. And then I pick up the hay and I transition it and I rotate, and then I move the weight away from my body. Right. And then I would pick up the next bale of hay, which my foot's not going to be in the exact same place. My arm's not going to be the exact same place. And that's where we get the term of variability. Right. So now I'm training for variability, where every rep's a little different and I become stronger. Overall, I become more robust. My body becomes more robust, stronger, because I'm loading it and I'm getting strong in all these different planes of motion and all these different directions with all these different loads. Sometimes the hay is heavy. Sometimes the hay is light. Sometimes I have 2 buckets of water in each hand. Sometimes I have 1 bucket of water in one hand and nothing on the other hand. So there's that asymmetrical, unilateral type loading. So that's where the idea came from. And, it really stemmed from looking at these hockey players in Canada saying, man, those farm kids are strong. you know, how do we train like farm kids without actually saying, okay, let's go in the gym and put some hay in there.
Yeah.
You know, let's kind of go in the gym and we have this kind of tube with handles that could be used in the same type of ideology as farm strength.
No, it's funny how things come about, because I try to tell people all the time, you know, like you grab, you know, you think of like a Kaiser row turn and into a hand transition with a push. It's like you're grabbing the milk, you're transitioning, you're putting it on the counter, right? Out of the fridge, right? You open the fridge, you grab something, you turn around, you give it to the wife that's asking for it because they're cooking. All sorts of different things. And it's funny, it came across through a carpet. But now that makes sense why it's cylindrical, and you can grab a carpet and you can move it and pick it up like that.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's evolved just like everything else has evolved. And, you know, there's a lot of great benefits to Viper, as hopefully you're realizing as you play around with yours. But generally speaking, I think we can all agree that we are at our weakest when we are at our longest, right? So it's much harder to hold that gallon of milk out here than to hold the gallon of milk here, right? So now we're training our fascial system and we're training our connective tissue completely different, because we're used to training within ourselves. Like, yeah, maybe we do like
in our bubble,
right? We're doing, maybe we do like a side lunge with dumbbells and then a shoulder press, but we're still staying kind of centered within our body. But now with the length that we can have, and, you know, the directions that we have with the tube, that's what makes us strong and long, strength with length, as we often say.
I like that, strength with length.
Yeah.
That paints a good picture.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I think the most basic one that I see people screwing up, in terms of not necessarily that it's bad to train outside of the bubble, right? You're saying that there's all these these amazing benefits to it, but then there is problems with certain amounts of load, and some people aren't qualified and they're not pre-qualified to work in that, you know, in that outside of that bubble with that certain load. So it's interesting. I always see people, I think the most basic one is you're doing like a deadlift of some sort, and they like to hold it so far out from their shins. And it's not that that's not something that we probably do in everyday life, but it's where we can kind of lack that ability to understand, well, if you hold your groceries out in front, it's a lot harder. Hold them by your legs, it feels a lot easier. So don't necessarily not train for the hard stuff, but you got to be able to fall within those limits of knowing what is capable, what's not. It's interesting.
Well, the phrase I have for that, and I don't have nearly as many phrases as our friend Paul Christopher does, but now that I said that, I totally forgot the phrase I was. Oh yeah, now I know it. So I'm gonna steal one from Mike Boyle. Hopefully, we all know who Boyle is. And Mike Boyle said, and maybe he got it from someone else, but he goes, before you start going outside the box, make sure you know what's inside the box.
Valid.
Right. So when you learn how to deadlift, and that's one of our fundamental patterns and one of our basic patterns, right? Like, you know how to deadlift first, know how to deadlift properly before you start getting sexy with, okay, staggered stance, you know, deadlift with a reach, you know, something where you get too sexy too quick. And that's a big problem we have in the fitness industry today, you know, where, you know, look at social media and just look at what's out there. And a lot of things look cool. And then unfortunately, you know, a lot of people try it. And like you said, you know, their body isn't prepared, isn't ready, it doesn't have the foundation for it. And they think they're going to look like what the video looks like. And who knows how long that video took to shoot, right? Because they just posted the good one. Right?
Yeah, we know that all too well.
And they posted it from, you know, the right angle, where if their back was a little rounded, maybe you
couldn't see it
because, you know, they put it at a 45-degree type angle, you know, things like that. So I think we have to be very, very careful of monkey see, monkey do, and just, you know, looking at stuff. And hey, I post exercises, and, you know, I'm probably just as guilty of it, because truth be told, like, some of the exercises that I'm posting, I hope that someone doesn't look at it without a good foundation and say, hey, let me try this thing, right? I'm mostly from the school of thought is, hey, here's a tool, and it's not always Viper Pro. It's, here's a tool, here's how I like to use it, here's how it would benefit me and my clients. And I kind of leave it at that. I don't really say like, give it a try, like do this and let me know how it goes. Cause you could be potentially asking for trouble.
Yeah. The good old, save this one for later and give it a try. Yeah. I don't think, I don't think there's enough people, qualified, to be doing that kind of stuff. And it's interesting, like you said, you got to have a foundation, and unfortunately it's become a virtual industry that allows for anybody to have access to it. But what is it, and what is the final product that they're getting? It's the sum of years of training, years of getting good at taking a video and knowing the angles, and then 12 to 15 takes of doing it crappily and then putting it out there so that it looks the best and it's marketable and those sorts of things. So yeah.
And I know like you do a lot of studying and watching successful people and what they do and how they do it. And it's like, all the successful people, take fitness out of it. They're successful because they are very good at the basics and they are very good at the fundamentals. And it's easy to use the example of Michael Jordan, but he's a good example to use. Like, he was hammered home the basics of just standing on a free throw line and shooting literally thousands, every day, and just getting that repetition in and doing well. And then he makes the hard stuff look easy.
Yes.
Because if you hammer home the basics and you master the basics, then you can get to the hard stuff. And here's another one that I like to use. I may have used this in the IOM workshop that you did, but it was probably very quickly. Only those who take the time to do the simple things perfectly ever acquire the skills to do the difficult things easily. So only those who take the time to do the simple things perfectly ever acquire the skills to do the difficult things easily. You got that?
Yeah, no, that's profound, and it's simple. It's just long worded and like you said, often just overlooked. It's nothing outside of the ordinary, regardless of what industry you're looking at. But in the most basic of human things, if you can't, say your ABCs, right, you can't get to words. And if you can't get to words, you can't get to sentences. And if you can't get to sentences, you can't get to writing a book. Like, right. You have to start somewhere.
And I've looked at Michael Jordan a lot, and I've studied a lot of his stuff. I grew up in the 90s. So Jordan, I was a bandwagon Bulls fan. Like, how couldn't you not be a Michael Jordan? And I lived in New York, and everyone was the Knicks trying to beat Jordan. And they couldn't do it. Michael Jordan and John Wooden, and I don't know if anybody out there has looked at John Wooden stuff or if you have as well. John Wooden is an amazing person to look at and study as well from a leadership standpoint. And the two things of many that they have in common is that the two of them made practice so hard that the game became easy. Right? So John Wooden was notorious for running his teams through the gamut during practice, so they couldn't wait for the game, because the game would end up slowing down and the game would end up being easy. Right? So it goes back to that practicing the basics, practicing the fundamentals over and over again, doing them well. And, that's an extreme case. So, I'm not saying hey, everybody, run your teams into the ground until they can't wait to stop practicing. But the idea is there where if I continue to put in time, effort, and consistency into something, and I do that enough over time, then when it's literally game time, right? When, when I have to perform, if I'm going to do a Spartan race or something like that, where it's actually, timed, or I want to win or something like that, then I'm ready, or you'll be ready. And on a more lower activities of daily living scale, like when I have to, cross the street and I don't see that pothole there, and I have to either jump over it quickly or I step in it, but my balance and reaction stops me and stabilizes me, so I don't pop my ankle or I don't roll over, my foot or something like that. That's where you win.
Yeah, valid. It's the small victories every day. I take them for granted, but sometimes I catch myself. I'm like, oh, thank God, like I'm not, clumsy in a sense where like I don't put myself through movements that acquire a lot of brain activity. And clients say that all the time. You're like, you're making me think. Good. That's good. That's what I want. I want you to have to think and move, because then when you get into a situation, you don't have to think about it. Your body's going to react that way. Specifically, that's what I'm training you for.
Yeah. And one of the best ways to prevent things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and cognitive decline is to do things with our body where our brain also has to connect.
Multi-sensory activities. Yep. Anything, even if it's, people overlook some of that stuff, and that's where I've really dove into the neurological understanding of
because
things.
It doesn't give you a pump. It doesn't get necessarily the blood flowing as if you did 20 bicep curls and your arms feel twice the size of, and it's hard for people to get over that. And once you can finally get over that and realize that, my grandmother has dementia, or my dad's, starting to forget things, and, I'm in line, and, next, then you're like, wait, maybe I should do some more brain games and some cognitive type of activities.
No, and that's, once again, that's just another reason why I value your professional opinion. When you're in the gym, being able to watch, what you're doing and how you're going about teaching your clients. And if you're giving a speech, or if you're doing a seminar, trying to, catch some of it or go to it, because you take that perspective and look at it, and you don't look at it from just only living on this side of the fence your whole life. You come from the background of being in a place where you've experienced injury. You experienced the holy crap, my body hurts every day I wake up. And it was a result of your training as a younger individual. So can you paint a picture for how, if you were my age, 25, sorry, right? What what was your training like at that age? What were you doing, and how were you living?
Yeah, that was very simple. I was like most other 25s, and you're so ahead of the curve, so we can't count you. But Monday was probably chest day. Tuesday was back. Wednesday was either legs or shoulders. Thursday was whatever legs and shoulders weren't. And then Friday was arms. Something along those lines. Maybe I took a day in between, or, something like that. But it was a very traditional, body part split. I still have the Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. I did that. I followed that, religiously and to the T, where to the credit of being consistent, it works. Like,
valid. For those results that you're looking for.
And my muscles got bigger, and my muscles got stronger, but my muscles didn't get stronger omnidirectionally. My muscles got stronger in one plane of motion. My muscles got stronger in a very sagittal, linear type direction and plane. And as you alluded to in the beginning, I was a former professional wrestler with WWE. Where could you think of a sport or activity that's more multiplanar and more omnidirectional? And in Viper Pro, we call it, you also need odd position strength. Odd position strength is that basically that non-traditional, non-linear, non-symmetrical strength, where if I'm a wrestler and I literally have to catch someone that's jumping at me here, my arm's going to be like this. and my shoulder's going to be slightly turned. I'm going to be a little laterally flexed. I'm going to be a little sitting. So that's an odd position to be strong in. And then I have a 250-pound man that's going to jump on me that I have to catch, right? So if I could do all the great chest press in the world, right? But is that going to transfer over and get me stronger and help me catch, that individual and that person? So looking back, I mean, I obviously wished I did a lot more of the stuff that I've been taught and the stuff that I teach and the stuff that I, do now. But unfortunately, I wasn't exposed to any of that.
And a lot of people weren't at that time.
Yeah.
So
hindsight's always 20/20, and like you said, with the injuries that I suffered, I was trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, and I was trying to figure out ways to heal my body. And I've injured just about every major part of my body. I've broken my foot. I've torn my ACL, MCL, PCL, had major ACL reconstructive surgery, patella tendon graft. I tore my bicep on my right arm, not repaired. Tore my bicep on my left arm, was repaired. Dislocated my shoulder 5 times. I had 5 major shoulder dislocations, 2 major shoulder operations. What else did I do? 2 partially torn pecs. Neither of them were repaired. And about 16 years ago, my lower back started to really bother me during a wrestling practice one day. And at the time, I'm 24 or even 23. You're invincible and you don't know any better and you don't care. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, if you keep wrestling, you're going to need a major back operation. And I said, okay. And I said, how long? He goes, probably about 10 years. And I go, 10 years, sweet. I got 10 years to beat up my body. Now I'm once again, paying the price for all of that training, that I did. And, that's not to say that I'm not proud of what I did or the body that I built, but I didn't build a body that was sustainable. Mm-hmm. I didn't build a body that was resilient. And those are the 2 words that we often use in Institute of Motion, as well as, building a body that's sustainable and building a body that's resilient for sport and for life, for now and for 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah, no, super valid. I've come across, some of those things, but painting a picture for me, you said that you came across that injury at like 23. When did you originally start wrestling?
I got injured pretty quickly into it. So I started wrestling I think I was 19, turning 20, professionally, in the ring, the ropes, jumping off the ropes, all that stuff. And a very large man, he must have been probably around 260 to 280, probably around 6'6". We were doing a match, and there was other guys in the ring, and he literally threw me out of the ring over the top rope. And I put my hand down to catch myself, and I was thrown with such force and then my shoulder dislocated. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I've had chronic shoulder problems ever since. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely my weakest link. It's definitely what I spend a lot of time on, mm-hmm. even if I'm doing legs. But because, as you know, this bone's connected to this bone, so name it all, right? And fascial webs and connections. Even if I'm going to do a leg dominant, lower body dominant, exercise or routine or exercise then I'm still going to do a lot of stuff for this shoulder. Because if this shoulder's not in the right place, mm-hmm. and I go to squat or, and I don't have that thoracic extension when I need it to do some type of lower body exercise, then I'm putting now my lower body in danger. And then before you know it, then you start jacking up your hips or your knees or your feet. So I take a lot of time with my shoulder work.
No, super, super important. And I think it paints a beautiful picture for people who are listening too, that like you've quite literally put your body through, the gamut, right? Everything and anything. You've got the shoulder issue, you've got, the back, you've got the biceps, the ACL, the broken foot, all of it. It's not an excuse to stop working out. It's not an excuse to stop being active. It's not an excuse to be sedentary and sit on your ass all day. And I think a lot of people nowadays, because of traditional medicine and what the doctors may say after they give you a diagnosis, right? They get so caught up in this. Well, I go to physical therapy and insurance pays for it, and I do my 12 sessions, and then I'm not good by then. And the doctor told me I should never deadlift, or I shouldn't pick up anything heavy. And then they feel this, the weight of the world on their shoulders, that they're not allowed to do anything. But then they start to feel heavier, and they start to feel more lethargic, and they start to eat those feelings. And then all of a sudden it's a snowball effect. But it paints a beautiful picture that you went from that to not only continuing to be active, but to then learn your way out of those mistakes and to continue to move in the opposite direction, the opposite end of the spectrum. A lot of people just kind of take what hits them, and okay, that's it. I'm stuck. I'm done.
And I will say that I'm proud of the fact that if someone saw me and didn't know a thing about me and they saw me work out, they would not in a million years think that anything was wrong with me. Because I've had plenty of people come up to me during my workouts, as you have, when, we're doing this weird stuff or this very flow-based activities that looks very seamless or that just looks smooth. And, someone said, what is that? Or, someone came up to me one time, which is very funny. And they go, "Are you a dancer?" Oh, no, that's like the ultimate compliment, that you saw me exercise and you think that I'm a dancer.
Yeah.
But that's once again to the work that I've put in, that I have to put in. I wish, I say this all the time, I wish I can just get out of bed, do one of these, do one of these, and then go, give me the dumbbells and then go. But I can't, and I won't.
That's probably what your warm-up looked like back in the day, huh?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always make fun of everyone like me, and someone for a warm-up back in the day for someone like me, and a lot of people's warm-ups now are, if you're going to do chest, then your warm-up would just be the bar or 135 on the bench. That's your warm-up. That's your dynamic warm-up, is doing 135 on the bench. But there's no way I would even entertain, doing that. The prep for my workout is longer than my workout. Because I'm from that same mentality of, if I could just prepare my body to the best of the ability, and I create as much space in my body mobility to move, and I'm as warm, heat up, right, as I can be, then the workout, the actual strength part, or whatever the
focus is that day,
the of that day, will be optimized that much more. And it doesn't even have to take that long, because also what's that funny line, like, my warm-up is your workout, or something, whatever that is. But because as my warm-up is still a workout, it's just getting me to the meat and potatoes of the theme of that day. So it's like, once I get through my warm-up, I'm like, oh, thank God, the hard part's over. and then that's still saying the hard part's over, and I'm still have to like deadlift, squat, box jump, push up, viper tilt, all this stuff. That's the easy part, because I got through the warm up, which is the hard part.
I'm the same way, and it's funny that you said the taking pride in someone watching you and having them compliment or look at you and be like, I wish I could do that. And it's not a mystery. It's not a mistake. It's not some like magical thing that happened, guaranteed. I don't know about your childhood in terms of sports, but I was just very sport heavy as a kid. I was very active. I had older siblings, right, as we mentioned. So I was always trying to keep up, and just the activity and the amount of things that I did led to more kinesthetic awareness, led to a different maybe physique, and led to different things. But once again, it still wasn't just magic. It may have not been a conscious decision at that age entirely, but it transitioned into, now I totally could have stopped playing college basketball when I broke my foot and just never did anything else, and never decided to work out again, and decided, okay, I'm going to get a 9-to-5 job and I'm not going to do anything. But I've broken both of my feet. I've broken both of my nose. I've dislocated my AC joint here on my right shoulder, and I've dislocated a rib in jiu-jitsu. So I too have a lot of things that, like, not a ton and not nearly as crazy and nothing massive, but there's a lot of maintenance to be done. And when I don't do that maintenance, I feel it. And the feelings that everyone may have on a day-to-day general, basis, everyone feels those things in a sense. It's just a matter of, are you going to counteract that? Or are you just going to let that be your timeline, your story?
Yeah, and then it's just a snowball from there. And things can snowball in both ways. Things can snowball positively. Things can snowball negatively.
Yeah.
To bring in another quote, and I just kind of looked it up here because I knew it, but I didn't know it word for word. Yeah. Michelangelo, the famous Michelangelo, right?
Famous.
If people only knew how hard I worked to gain my mastery, it wouldn't seem so wonderful at all. Right. So people look at that exercise or you working out and they say, man, that's awesome that you do that. Meanwhile, they don't know what's behind the scenes. They don't know when you pull back the curtain, how much time and effort you put into making that look easy or making that look so smooth, when they just see the finished product. Which is why I like that Michelangelo quote, because you look at something like a pretty painting, or you look at someone who's really good at what they do, and you're like, oh wow, you see it from there. And we see a lot of memes like that, where it's like the gold medal, but then underneath the gold medal was like hard work, disappointment, failure, opportunity, all this other stuff.
The classic iceberg, right? The classic iceberg picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That you don't realize. So
you're kind of the meme king now that I mentioned, think about it. You're always, you got a good collection. I feel like on a weekly basis, I see 2, 3, maybe 4 pop up on your.
I just steal them from when I see one, and I just post it. I can't remember who said it recently. It was a celebrity, but he's like, you know what? Just post funny stuff and just be happy. Like, instead of like, going through these rants and all this other. So that's what I try to do. Like, if I see something funny, like I think the last thing I posted was, all my posts may not be funny, but all your selfies aren't cute either, or something like that. You let kids believe in Santa like you believe your filtered pictures are real. Stuff funny, stuff like that. I find fun.
No, it's comical. So I always get a good laugh.
Yeah, I just stick with it. And at this point in my life and my career, like I'm just gonna do what makes me happy, and hopefully it makes other people laugh or makes other people happy as well, because that's all I want now and for the
valid. Future. It's not about making everybody your friend and making everybody agree with what you think and trying to get everyone on your side. Live your life, speak the truth, have fun. Don't be a negative Nancy. And
and if people have the time to do stuff like what I'm about to say, I guess more power to you. But like, if you want to like argue over like the legitimacy of a particular exercise, or where a certain bone should be when you're exercising, or where, like, man, like, I guess like more power to you, but like, I just don't have the time for that right now. Like, I'd rather play with my daughter or work on myself or help my clients better than to try to like explain like why like you shouldn't be doing Russian twist, which like is up for debate.
Yeah.
But you know, I just don't have the time for that.
And I think so. I was having that thought the other day, and it's like a lot of people will go to the grave trying to, you know, speak and get someone else to understand what's going on in their head. And then there's the whole like, you know, live for something or die for nothing, right? That's like the counteract. It's like, well, if you're not going to do anything, you know, all out, then don't do anything at all. It's like, well, life happens in the gray. You know, you can't look at one side or the other. Everything's going to happen somewhere in between. And so many people, I think, like you're talking about with social media, and especially throughout the last 6 months of no one working at a, you know, at a place and having to drive to work and not having to get ready and, you know, wearing pajama pants while they're on business, you know, calls and things like that. People all of a sudden have tons of more time, and it's becoming more prevalent to just sit on your phone and talk about some of the most ridiculous things. Like you said, just live, laugh, love, spend time with your family. And I don't know about you, and I feel like you might be the same way. If it wasn't for, you know, business and the way of the world,
I would not be on it.
yes, no, yes, 100%.
No way.
I can't stand it. I really, and I'm not a huge. There's the creating side of it, and there's the consuming side of it. I'm far more of a creator than I am a consumer. I don't know how people find it comfortable to just lay in bed on their phone for hours, or, you know, sit on the couch on their phone for hours on end and just like scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. If it wasn't for like brand building and, you know, the small opportunity to like maybe stay in contact with friends and family a little bit, I would not be on it whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And the the struggle that I have is like, even like, and I'm sure you've had it, like we've all had days where like, screw this, man, I'm done with social media, or like, yeah. You know what, I'm just gonna get off. But you know, like I do enough writing on blogs and for magazines and things like that, where I like to post my articles. I very rarely post anything that's not contributing to my business, or sometimes like very, very rarely do I post something about my family. But when I write, I write for a couple places. One is called like Daddy's Digest, daddysdigest.com. Awesome. And I write for them. So I would post something about my daughter and fatherhood on that. But if it wasn't for all of that stuff, then yeah, I wouldn't be on it. I think there are positives to it, but for sure. I honestly think that social media is more negative and has more downside than upside. And I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with that. Mm-hmm. But I just think giving everyone a microphone and giving everyone the ability to put anything out there and then have someone to bicker back and forth and just, you know, retweet this or do that, or, you know, it's just, it makes people, I think it's making people more crazy. I think it's driving people more crazy, where they end up just scrolling and or looking for a fight. Like, how can you say that about that person? Yeah. You know, that person is awful, you know, all this, you know. And I think we're at a time where there's a lot of people that are like looking for like literally a fight. Yeah. I see it on the streets. I see it in cars. Like everyone's like honking horns, like the light just turned, the light didn't even turn green yet, like honking your horn. I'm like, dude, like the light just turned green. Like everyone's just like so on edge. I think it's obviously the time that we're in as well, but throwing the time that we're in with the social media platform that we have, is I think personally that it's doing more harm than good.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster in some cases, without a doubt. What have you seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
I haven't. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Do I even want to see it? Because isn't that going to make it more,
Yeah.
from what I know about it, isn't that going to make it worse? Like once you watch this thing and be like, oh my God, they're watching us right now.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna end this podcast with you, and then I'm gonna get an ad for Limitless Theory in
Yeah.
my, in my feed.
If I cared enough to run ads, that would probably happen. But I'm not at that point yet. No.
It's
But
still
it is.
even without running ads. I still, you know what will happen? You may probably start to come up more in my feed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even something as weird as that, like
Yeah.
you interact with somebody, and then they go to the top of the feed, and then you start seeing a lot of their stuff again. So, but yeah, I haven't seen it. Yeah.
If you don't want to really get spooked, then don't don't watch it. And I didn't even watch the whole thing in entirety. I don't think. I got through like half of it, and I think the moral of the story, and I coincidentally enough, I tweeted this the other day. Sometimes Twitter's like my dumping ground for ideas that I want to like write blogs on and maybe make like freestyle podcasts and things of that nature. Just to put two sentences out there, and I don't even think I have more than like 20 followers on Twitter. I never built it up.
I gotta follow you.
You got it. Bad news. So so I tweeted the other day.
But then it's always, but only if you follow me back. Why don't you follow me back? Because I'm so immature that you have to follow me back. Like, that's the world we live in. Like, oh my God, like, get over yourselves.
Dude, Dude, your ratio is way up, bro. You follow like 15,000. You only have like 4,000 followers. You're crazy. So
is it Limitless Theory? I'm gonna follow you in real time.
No, I think it's D Foss or D underscore Foss 3.
Underscore Foss.
Yep, 3.
There you are. Shirtless. That always helps. Always helps.
One of my favorite.
So you got one more follower now.
Nice.
If this podcast has done nothing for you, you gain one follower.
just climbing the ladder one podcast at a time. So I think I had tweeted, I'm so much more of a doer than keeping track of doing. And I think something alongside of social networks is just the advancement in technology and the need for everything to be in some sort of, phone or computer or laptop or drive or cloud or whatever. There's nothing that, I think about flow state, right? And the ability for the brain to turn off everything that it is going on outside of that, right? And anxiety goes way down when you're in flow state as a result of you're catching a 280-pound man. You're doing something physically, mentally, everything is right, in this bubble that we talk about, right? And you're completely engulfed in that scenario and situation. You don't have the resources to think about anything else. And the same thing for me with basketball. It used to just, nothing else matters. And when you get into these things, you start to realize that so much of your sensory, the different sensory parts of your brain aren't being really used. And all of a sudden, a million other things are popping in and out of your head, and you're losing that ability to be in a flow state. And if you're anything like me, I just would rather be in a doing situation. Like if my hands are on something and they're working on something, nothing else really matters. I'll go hours and hours and hours without looking at my phone. But if I'm on my laptop, all of a sudden my phone seems like it's so prevalent and important. Right? If I'm like keeping track of something here, all of a sudden like my phone just seems like it's always asking for me. It's always calling me. It's always this. right? And you got to keep track of all these different things, and you got to keep spreadsheets, and I don't know if you're in that same scenario. You feel that that need to
Yeah, well,
step
I
out
mean,
and step
as
away.
you know, there's three different ways we can learn something, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's visual, there's auditory, and there's kinesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm that kinesthetic. It
Yeah.
sounds like you were describing,
Yes.
kinesthetic as well. And we're gradually losing the ability to even have that as an option,
Mm.
which is really going to be detrimental to our society and to societies coming up, where, yeah, some of the memes that I post are from like back in the day. You didn't know how hard it was to do this, where kids aren't going to even know or understand, how to do, simple things. One thing that's interesting is how many people today know how to still write in script and know how to write in script. How
I
many
don't
people do
know.
you see write?
No.
It's like a lost art. It's like a
Yeah.
lost art, right? And and now it's, do I even need to know how to write? Because all I need to know is how to just do
Type.
that.
Yeah.
I,
It's
I don't.
interesting.
I barely even need to know how to write with my hand, because everything that I need to do in my life will be accomplished technically successfully if I know how to do this, and I know how to do this, and I don't even need to know how to literally write.
Right. With a pen or pencil.
Yeah, yeah,
That's actually really sickening to think about, because I wrote in cursive all the way through 5th grade. And I remember getting to middle school and be like, oh, you don't have to write in cursive anymore. And by the time I was in 10th grade, I completely forgot. Couldn't write an ounce of cursive, and I still can't. I know, like, because of Billy Madison, I know how not to write a Z. And if you're familiar with
yeah.
that scene, right? Rizzuto, Buzz, and she starts throwing all those words at him. Um, so like I know how to, connect a couple of letters, but like if you asked me how to write a J or an F, I mean I would have no idea whatsoever.
Yeah.
OSS, I know how to write my name, I think.
Yeah.
But it's weird, yeah, because
And,
now, and my niece, and your daughter's 3, and your wife's a teacher. My niece is now 8, and from the age of 2, she knew how to pick up a phone and call somebody. So everything she does in school, I know, is on an iPad. So you're right. Like, when is she physically? What is the ratio of physically writing time to typing time on a day-to-day basis? Because if she gets to high school and all of a sudden there's no more writing, I forgot how to do it really quickly, in cursive. Who knows how quickly that skill can get lost?
yeah, and I think it's it's a good goal to have, to take little things like that and say, you know what, like, I'm a lefty. You're a lefty too, right? Yeah, yeah.
No, but
No, you're
I don't
not.
know if this is where
You're
you're going, but I was thinking earlier today, I was sitting in the office and I was eating after a workout, and I was like, I'm going to eat with my left hand.
yeah,
So
yeah.
is that where
So
you were
so
going?
just like little things like that, like about 6 years ago, I said, I'm gonna start brushing my teeth with my other hand.
Yes.
Right? And it took a while, it took a long time, but now I go immediately to, I'm a lefty, and I just immediately brush my teeth with my right hand, like I don't even think about it. And I can still brush my teeth with my left hand.
Yes.
So little things like that. And my next goal, which I say I'm going to do, and maybe I need to, now I'm putting it out there because it's on a
Yes.
podcast, is
Put it
I
out
want
there
to,
into the universe.
I want to, as simple as this sounds, I want to write the alphabet every day with my other hand. And I want to just kind of start there.
Nice.
And
I like it.
just to, just to find another open neural pathway that I could, open up.
I heard a really awesome statement the other day, and I don't remember what I was watching, but it was saying that 10% of our brain capacity is on our uh, right side of our brain, and 90% of our brain capacity is in the left side. Speaking from the creative and logic comparisons. So it's funny to think, right? The more that you can creatively move and flow and visualize and imagine and meditate on something, and
Mm-hmm.
you're infinitely more capable on that side of your brain. And what does it take? It takes small things. I remember I was eating and brushing my teeth in high school with my opposite hand because my goal was to get better at left-handed layups. So I started that in high school, and it carried through college, and I still to this day I brush with my left hand, like you're saying, the exact same thing. The one thing that I also haven't gotten really good at is writing with my left. It's
And
definitely a longer time kind of thing.
as I'm sure you can attest, when we get a client, more like a new client, isn't it amazing how they have very little body awareness? How it's like, all right, do 5 lunges on your left leg, and then they do 5 lunges on their left leg, and then all right, take a break and do 5 lunges on your right leg, and they do 5 lunges on their left leg again. I was like, no, like you just did your left leg. Like you are so out of tune with your body and your mind that you've lost all awareness, not just in your mind and not just in your body, but together. With simple movements, and which is where we come in too, where it's, I just don't want to train you to look good. Like, yeah, I know most of us, we want to look good, and yeah, I want to look good too. But I also don't want dementia and Alzheimer's one day either. So I want to do stuff that challenges my mind, and I'm going to do stuff that challenges my clients' mind and brain. And you've seen it firsthand. Some of the stuff that I've done with my clients, and I'm just unfortunately amazed and surprised how you get somebody, more like, middle age, because obviously the younger you are, the easier it is to pick up something.
For sure.
But you get someone, middle age, maybe a weekend warrior, maybe someone who's been a former athlete, maybe they're not, maybe they're a desk person, maybe they're not. And then you have them do some simple stuff, and you're like, wow, this person doesn't even know their left from their right.
Yeah.
This person doesn't even know how to do something reciprocal, left to right.
Yeah.
And it's it's
Sometimes I ask the question, like, how'd you walk in the door? Like, did you hit your head? Like it really is profound and mind-boggling to think that someone can't comprehend stand with your feet in a split stance, punch and pull. This right here is like, if you can stand in a split stance and do this movement right here, you're tackling 90% of life. But if you do it consciously and not subconsciously in a daily activity, people are like, oh my God, what is going on? Or simple cues of like, pull the band to your chest. And they're like, over here.
Yeah.
Like, no, to your chest. Oh yeah, okay. No, like, I want it on your chest.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then three reps later, they're back over here.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see, because if there's anything that we have, access to, the way I always think about it is, you're the only person that can move your body, and you're the only person that can see your thoughts. You have 60,000 thoughts a day. You're the only person with access to them. I can't go inside of your brain, Gio, and try to, steal a good thought.
You wouldn't want to either, man.
I can't go in there and steal a good thought. So like, the only access that anyone has to that vault of 60,000 every single day is the person that holds them. And the only person that can move this body is me. The only person that can move your body is you. And for some people to not have the ability to kind of explore life or express their emotions through their bodies, where I think a lot of people are, once again, like you're saying, they're losing psychological stability, not just from, kinesthetic stability, like you can't stand in a split stance, but psychologically the stability to be able to handle outside, emotions and energies is just like plummeting at a really quick rate. And I don't have a ton of experience.
I like
What'd you say?
psychological stability. I like that.
Yeah.
Psychological stability. I like that.
Yeah. And I think honestly, I always try to teach people breathing patterns and habits as well. And I've had a lot of success with that. And I've had clients come back and say, I was like in a real crazy situation, not because it was like hectic in a crazy bad way. It wasn't like anything wild, but it just like, mentally I was like way out of it, and I was about to like argue with somebody, and I just you took those deep breaths that you taught me how to do for like 2-3 minutes, and all of a sudden I was fine. I was, I felt much better. I went into the situation a lot better. And it's like I didn't do anything profound for you. I just, you expressed your energy, or you got that energy, or you translated that energy that was inside you in some sort of way. So mentally it didn't just become a, dynamite bomb and explode.
It goes back to the simple stuff that I was saying before. It's just, if you're really good at simple stuff, then you'll be pretty good at life.
Yeah, valid. You'll just be able to handle the harder stuff in a better manner.
Easier.
Yeah,
Simplicity is sophistication.
I like that one too. I'm gonna tweet that one later. I'm gonna take credit for it.
Go ahead.
Or
I
maybe
stole
that'll
it.
be our first interaction on Twitter. I'll
Yes,
tag you. Yeah,
yes.
upload it and
I
tag you.
stole it from someone. See, I'm not as heavy as PC, but I got some quotes in
You
my
do.
pocket,
Yeah,
right?
you got them. You got them in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of your, we alluded to before, getting good at the simple things. We alluded to it just now, and you alluded to wishing that you could just wake up and be like, ugh, all right, let's go, let's get into it. So when you do wake up, what are some of your like things that you try to tackle and make sure that you harp on? Do you have a morning routine that you stick to? Some people are really heavy on those. Some people are more
Yeah.
so switching up day to day.
Yeah. Some simple stuff. I always, upon waking, I always drink one glass of water
Mhm.
as soon as I wake up, and then I put on some green tea, and
Yeah.
then green tea is my first interaction with any type of substance for the day, other than, obviously the water. I always try to get my workout in first thing early in the morning, especially with my daughter, because if I just put it off, then it's just
Mhm.
never going to happen, or never happening the way I want it. And I take, as you do, and as a lot of fitness professionals do, like, I take my workout very seriously. And not that I don't want to have fun in my workout, but I have things that I need to accomplish in my workout that are going to help me become a better person, and that are going to make me feel better throughout the day. So there's a focus there where I want to get my job done. So I'll always try to get my workout in early in the morning. And a lot of the things I do in the morning is for my feet, because if I have that kind of ground connection, and if I make that ground connection and my feet are alive and awake, then the rest of my day hopefully will feel better and be better, because hopefully I'll be on my feet for a good chunk of it, and not sitting on my butt doing nothing all day, which will never be me. So I'll do stuff like I have different uh, uh, pallets of rocks, and I kind of just step and do grounding exercises, and in different surfaces of rocks. Maybe I'll do some golf ball, kind of like trigger point, rolling on the balls. I have a calf board. There you go. I have a calf board, slant board, so I'll do some ankle dorsiflexion work on there, and then from there I'll get into kind of shoulder prep. Attack the big bucket. So ankle, foot,
Yeah.
hip, and thoracic spine. And then with thoracic spine, I also put in shoulder into that.
Shoulder,
And
neck. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just, I'll attack all those three buckets, and I'll build the workout just as, how you build your workout, and it'll gradually crescendo up into that main event, pun intended, of the theme of the day, where if that's a strength based, muscular strength type workout, if that's more of a cardiovascular type workout, that'll be the crescendo up. But I'll always do something for my feet, my hips, and my shoulders / thoracic spine, and I'll try to do that early in the morning, and then get that out of the way. I actually recently just purchased an inversion table, so I've been playing around with a little bit of inversions. With my shoulder. It would be hard for me to, and may not be very smart for me to try to master a handstand. So sometimes you got to know when to, what's that term? Know when to fold them and know when to go with it, right? And as nice it would be to do handstands with 5 dislocations, couple torn biceps, couple torn pecs, 2 major shoulder surgeries. It would be nice to do handstands, but it may not be in my best interest, because my doctor's already told me for years that there's very little cartilage left, and I'm almost running on 3 tires instead of 4.
Yeah.
I'd probably be a very good candidate for a shoulder replacement one day. So I'm trying to hold on to this guy the best I can. So I've been getting a little more, still trying to, do some inversions, which is really good for spinal decompression.
Yes.
And, a lot of little things. So I have a percussion, massage gun. I got an inversion table. I got the rocks for my feet. And we call that variability too, where, I'm exposing my body to many different, types of modalities and, equipment. Where
a lot of tools in the toolbox or the tool belt.
Yeah, which would make my body hopefully more resilient and sustainable. But the secret sauce is, do you know where to put them all? Do you know where to fit them? Do you know where they go? Do you know how they complement each other? Because otherwise, you just got a whole big tool shed with a whole bunch of tools in it, and you don't know how to use most of them, or you don't know where one of them goes. And do I use this to screw in the nail, or to hammer in the piece of wood? You're talking backwards. So you gotta know the exposure you have to these things, and where they fit in, and how they fit in. And
I think sorry to cut you off there. I think speaking on that exact topic, I think the worst thing that's happened recently is the broad spectrum sales of percussion guns, because people are just, anybody and everybody's like, I don't feel better. This is stupid. My back hurts. This is dumb. I don't get it. I did it for like 30 seconds yesterday and my back hurts today. Like, it's not a freaking magic pill. Like, you gotta, that's quite literally just to almost wake up your nervous system and the fascial tissue in that area, maybe promote a little blood flow. And it's to oversensitize anything that might be, if you're familiar with afferent and efferent, right? Efferent neurons, right? So it's just to maybe take the pain away simultaneously at that exact instant. But the idea is that it's the prep.
And that's why I like to use the power plate in some instances. And I like to use the power plate barefoot. And I like to do a lot of barefoot things on the power plate, because as I'm sure you know, the foot is the most sensory responsive part of the body. It has the most proprioceptors in the foot. So if I just simply take my shoes off, stand on a vibration platform, and then get off, maybe my foot will be more activated. Maybe my foot will be more awake. Maybe I'll have some blood flow, some circulation. And then when I go to do some type of single leg movement, or when I go to do an inchworm, right? Maybe, I'm optimizing my body that much more, which I was talking about before, right? How do I crescendo this workout? How do I build this workout to literally try to maximize everything I can. And it could be just as simple as, hey, before we work out or in the middle of our workout or as we prep our workout, let's stand on this power plate and do some squats, or let's just stand on a power plate on one leg and really get that whole leg and hip, you know, in a position where I can't really do that anywhere else. So that's that tool in that toolbox, and I'll use that when I feel the need to it. I'm not putting people on power plates for an hour, right? But I'm going to take the power plate and the vibration gun, and I'm going to put, oh, okay, so this is the time for that. And this is the time for the power plate. This is the time for the Viper. This is the time for the body blade. This is the time for this, you know, and so on and so forth.
Everything has its time, for sure. Timing's everything. And then the other thing, I love that you got an inversion table. I think that's super overlooked. I know there was I have a lot of people that told me it was like big in the late 80s and early 90s, that was like a really popular thing, was to have inversion tables or inversion boots. And I don't know where it's gotten maybe lost in translation, or if it has at all. There's just so many other things out there that it seems a little less insignificant, but I think it's super overlooked. One of my clients, I kind of built his in-home gym and gave him all the tools and ideas to do that. And that was one of like the big things. He's an older individual. He's had, you know, he's had a lot of different injuries. He's got you beat and a couple more. And he used to wrestle. He used to steer wrestle. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you ride a horse, jump off the horse, and wrestle a bull to the ground with your bare hands. So
I can't say I've ever done that. No.
Yeah, he wasn't, you know, wrestling large men. He was wrestling large bulls, actually. So a little crazier. And long story short,
that's not Tony. It's not Tony, is it?
No. Long story short, he has a lot of different things going on, and the inversion table has been super, super helpful for him in terms of just spinal decompression, in terms of putting yourself in that scenario where fascia is just allowed to decompress. If gravity's pushing on you for 60 years straight and you've never once done the reciprocal or opposite, you know, gravitational stretch, or used it to your advantage, it's right there. It's a tool. Gravity in itself is a tool.
I often say this in a lot of the seminars, no matter what seminar I'm teaching, because it's usually always applicable no matter what I'm talking about, is people, most of the time, people feel good doing two things. They feel good in the water, because of the buoyancy, and it's taking weight away from your body. So how many people do we know? Oh yeah, I went swimming, or I just go in the pool and it just feels good. Yeah, because you're taking that weight away from their body, away from your body. And you know, the other thing is, a lot of people feel good when they just hang, right? So you just get on the bar and you just hang, or you grab a TRX and you just sit back and you hang, right? Because you're once again creating that kind of decompressive type state, you know. And the interesting thing is that when clients talk to me, and one of my pet peeves is when like a client or, you know, a fellow colleague, I appreciate the question, but I don't like the question when someone says, well, what do you do? And it's like, man, like, I'm not you. You don't try to do what I do, because my body is different than yours. And what I do for me specifically, personally, precisely, is not going to be optimal for you. Maybe there's a lot of crossover. Hey, do something for your foot, do something for your hip, do something for your thoracic spine. But what am I doing for my thoracic spine? You know, maybe something much different than what you need to do for your thoracic spine. So, you know, that's where the differences, you know, that's where the differences take place, which is where we all have to find our, you know, we all have to.
And that's why And I think that's why I got into the industry, is because, like you said, there's just a lack of kinesthetic awareness that people have. But yes, I'm a fit pro and my job is to try to help you figure it out more. But in the end, if you come see me an hour 5 times a week, even then I'm 5 out of your 168 hours of your week. Now add that up to a month, I'm 20 out of your 780 hours of the week, or of the month. You need to figure out yourself what is going on, what you need, how can you benefit yourself on a day-to-day basis. And my mentor when I was in college with athletic training, he drilled that home to me. It's N of one, it's N of one, it's N of one. No two people are the same, because no two nervous systems have really experienced life ever the same way. I always say, this is a good one, you might want to take this one. Jot this one down, right? Everything we do is unprecedented, regardless of what it is. Yeah, I played in hundreds of basketball games. That's very general. I never played in the same basketball game in the same, exact environment. Oh, it was on the same court. Okay. Did we play the same team? No. Okay. Then I prepped for the game differently. Did I eat the same exact meal beforehand? Did I sleep just as good the night before? Did I have the same family issues going on at that time last year when I played this team? There's nothing that we do that's ever the same exact thing. And because of that, we can't just throw things at people the exact same way and expect the same result.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, Gio, you're like, what do you do? What do you eat? Well, I do an inversion table. I walk on rocks. I do banded distractions. I do so many things. I eat very well. And that's what's made me who I am. That's what's made me successful. It's because I put as many pieces to the puzzle as I can and then put it together. So don't ask me like, oh, what do you do for exercise? Because what I do for exercise is just a small percentage of how I've been able to stay healthy or keep healthy or be as healthy as I possibly can. And as with your wealth of nutrition knowledge is there's so many other factors that go into being healthy. And one of our newest kind of lines with Institute of Motion is fitness does not equal health. You could be fit from an aesthetic perspective. You could be fit from an
even
actual
just a performance perspective,
but that doesn't mean you're healthy, right? And how many athletes go through their career, and then even as early as 30 and then into 40s and 50s, they're broken and they're beaten up, and we're trying to put them together again. Or unfortunately, you see people dying in their 60s and 70s from concussions or from this, and it's just from the decision that they made and what they put their body through. So fitness does not necessarily equal health, and that's why we train for health and not just fitness.
And on the other end of that spectrum, your diagnosis doesn't guarantee your destiny. Like, you can't just let someone tell you that you can't do something, or that you are not going to be able to, or you are bound to run into this issue or this disease at a certain portion, or this surgery. You can't just let life just punch you in the face day after day. You gotta ditch, dive, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, every once in a while.
I had genetic testing done a while ago. And I don't know if I ever even said this in an interview. This may be an exclusive Limitless Theory. Yeah. So I got genetic testing done a while ago, and I was told that I had the sudden death gene called long QT syndrome, where you would read in the newspaper, 47-year-old male, no pre-existing conditions, drops dead for no reason at all, right? Stuff like that. So I found out that genetically I have that condition. Do you think that makes you go about life a little differently and live life, and try to maximize, each day and live each day, to the fullest? So, knowing that I have that too, it doesn't hinder me or stop me from doing things, but it also motivates me that, like, yeah, I'm not thinking like, am I going to wake up tomorrow? But, it puts things in perspective, where, yeah, I mean, no one's going to be able to tell me what I can or can't do. And, part of my wrestling story was people telling me that I wouldn't make it as a wrestler, and I wasn't big enough or strong enough, or I wasn't athletic enough. I wasn't a great athlete in high school, by any means. And I was told by a lot of people that I wouldn't make it or wouldn't be successful at it. So we all have our own stuff, right? And we all have our own journeys that we're going through, and we all have our own obstacles that we've gone through. And being genetically
predispositioned for that,
to that is one of the crosses that I bear. But I go through life now with a little extra zest, knowing that. So that's one of those things where, man, sometimes I wish I really didn't know that. It would have been.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. That's a big piece of humble pie for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny you brought up the genetic, testing, because Haley and I just got ours back this week, and
wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. We got them on Tuesday, and we, we're comparing side by side. Obviously, we're siblings. We have a lot of crossover, but we also have a lot of things that are different. We have different moms. So we were looking at different things in terms of like high chances of obesity. Do you have the MTHFR gene, right, which is directly linked to diabetes because of lack of leptin sensitivity and lack of sucrose, sensitivity. So if you're always eating sweets, but you're not craving that sweet tooth, sucrose feeling, you're not getting enough dopamine from it, then your body's just like constantly wanting more and more and more. It's like, okay, that's great. Now that I know that, or, now that we're coming across these things, are we going to let them just be like, well, that's what I'm meant for. That's my destiny. I'm just going to eat sweets till the day I die. And because of it, that day is going to come like 40 years earlier than it possibly could, by doing the opposite. So it's interesting, and it's helpful too. Now, you talk about technology having its negatives and positives. I think that is something that is allowing us to maybe take the next step in finding some things and treating us as N of one individuals.
Yeah. What's also interesting too is, as you say that, you'll always have, and I'm sure you've come across, you'll always have those people that will say, well, my grandmother smoked till she was 95 and she was healthy, and she was like, everyone's always trying to find the exception to the rule. Yeah. And think that they'll be the exception, or use that as
their crutch.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you're going to roll the dice and you're going to smoke and you're going to hope because your grandmother did it till 95 that, you're going to be able to do it. But just imagine how happy your insides would be if it wasn't being infiltrated with cigarettes.
With toxins.
Right.
It's the idea of, you break it down for people like that, and smoking doesn't cause cancer. It increases your rate and chances of getting cancer because it can affect your genetics from an epigenetic standpoint, and blah, 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 blah. People lose their minds when you talk like that. But if you say, well, someone got bit by a shark in the water last week, are you just never going to go in the water? Or someone died last week in a car accident across the street, are you never going to go across that intersection in your car ever again? Are you just going to walk everywhere for the rest of
And,
your life?
smoking has the good, I use the analogy with smoking where it's, one cigarette, if you have a cigarette right now, it's not going to do much to you. It's not going to kill you. But it's when you have that cigarette day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, where the cumulative effect of smoking has very damaging effects. Just like, me and you can go out and we can go to Carvel and we can have a flying saucer and we'll be okay and we'll enjoy it. As you could see, like if you ever want to buy me something, that's what you're going to buy me, a flying saucer.
Did we just solidify a date right there?
Yeah. You can put a candle if you want. But if I had a flying saucer every night at 10 o'clock at night, not only, just what's in it, but at the time of day that I'm having it, that's over time gonna put, very damaging, pieces into my body and into my life and my quality of life.
Yeah, valid. Not sleeping tonight isn't going to kill you. Not sleeping for the next week will definitely kill you.
Or, over the course of a month, having, 20 awful nights sleep is going to eventually have really bad effects.
Without a doubt. And most people just don't think long-term enough in those senses. They don't think about the effect.
And one of my first mentors always used to tell me, he was a trainer and he also, was a member, a client. And he goes, I don't work out for now. I work out 10 years from now. I work out for 10, 20 years from now. And that always stuck with me. And that also got the ball rolling of like, okay, we're working out to be good for today and look good for today. But you also want to figure out, if I got these injuries, guess what? If you don't do stuff to try to help take care of them, then in 10 years from now, then you're going to be even further behind the 8 ball. And then, like you said, then you're just like, well, this is what I got. This is what I am. And I don't really squat or lunge anymore because my knee hurts, because I hurt my knee, 15 years ago and it hasn't been the same since. But I haven't really done anything for my hip or my ankle to help my knee. And that's another story.
Yes, totally agreed. I'm just, you come to group class, the doctor said like, I can't really do any squatting or like deadlifting. Did you happen to pick anything up off the floor yesterday at all? Like you did that movement. Let's add 10 pounds to it. Maybe. Or let's just maybe add a dowel behind your back and see if we can improve the efficacy of that, movement.
I mean, there's such a big disconnect with, the training industry and the medical industry. And I could totally understand the medical industry looking at the trainers a certain way. I mean, look how we're portrayed. Look at what most of the training industry looks like, to a general consumer. Someone in tight clothes or no shirt doing something, like a muscle up or something crazy, or doing kettlebell, something.
Snatches,
and the doctor's like, listen, don't do that stuff. Or I heard a client tell me that the doctor said, don't use kettlebells. And it's like digging a little deeper. And it was like, they don't want you to kettlebell swing because you have a bad back. Like that, I understand. But we have to like dig deeper. And like a kettlebell is one of the best ways to get stronger, like when you use it properly. But like you can get injured if you do a poor anything, including a poor kettlebell swing. And we've seen a lot of poor kettlebell swings. But it's sad and it's frustrating that, we can't continue to come together with the medical profession. And I think there's been a few like some of our colleagues that have been able to marry those two and work with physical therapists, work with chiropractors, work with orthopedic surgeons, and be on the same page because they understand, what we do. And I and you, we never claim to be physical therapists, and we never go out of our scope of practice. We stay in our lane. But in the same respect, we know that you can do certain stuff
yes.
and
there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah. And, for a doctor to say, don't squat, he's just mostly thinking squat, you put a bar on your back and you squat, don't squat, don't do that. That's really what he means.
Yes.
But as we know,
lost in translation,
as we know, there are 100,000 different ways that we can consider a squat. I could put you on your back and you bring your knees into your chest and you just did a squat. Right?
Yeah.
And I took gravity away from you. You just did like a reverse squat. You brought your knees into your chest. Should you not do that? So that's where having the toolbox comes into play too.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I mean, because I come from more of the medical side of it from the athletic training side. So that's why I chose not to go down that rabbit hole of working under a physician or working for a team. And as an athletic trainer, we always say there's 5 domains, and those include being able to diagnose orthopedic injury, being able to rehabilitate someone from orthopedic injury, being able to prevent someone from getting orthopedic injuries, and being able to medically care for someone at acute scene, medical or fatal type accidents, right? Someone goes down with an ACL tear in the NFL field. Who's the first person to run out? It's athletic trainers. Who's the first person to diagnose what is the most likely probable injury? The athletic trainer. What's the person that was that's now responsible for rehabbing that entire injury? The athletic trainer. So it's like, even coming from that field and that understanding and that educational background, I just saw so many opportunities outside of it because there's so many more people that need that information and can benefit from those sorts of resources than your $1 million athletes or your athletes that are in high school, college, whatever it may be. They have access to a lot of these things. They already have kinesthetic awareness, foundation. They're already being active. They don't necessarily have a super high chance of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and diabetes, which are the 3 main killers in America. So like the general population, your people that are, anywhere from 20 to 65 and older, that don't have access to anything but a regular physician checkup every 6 months. You talk to the doctor for 15 minutes. They don't have a dietitian telling them what to eat. They don't have athletic trainers prepping them before they do their activity. They're not even guaranteed activity, and most of them aren't. They're sedentary life. So that's where I wanted to try to bring this stuff, because a lot of it is basic. It's like shoulder rehab can just be lay on the ground and try to lift your hands off the ground. Like lay flat on your stomach and give me 15 of these overhead. You'd be really surprised how much your rhomboids in the middle of your back is burning after that. And it's like, I didn't do any damage to your shoulder. I'm not putting it at high risk of injury. We're not doing anything impactful. We're just trying to maybe improve. And I can't go overhead. It's painful. Okay, let's go out to the side. Do what you can with what you have. Don't push the envelope. And like you said, there's a lot of reason for medical professionals to be completely scared and like, don't go near a gym, don't work out, don't listen to your personal trainer. But then there's the other end of the spectrum where we get short-sticked and like we get a lot of excuses and a lot of things that, is almost a misrepresentation of how that person can actually get better and improve. So yeah, I'm sure you've run the gamut on those with, your clientele and your plethora of experience. But It is tough. I think it, like you said, it's changing and you're seeing overlap. You know, it's definitely starting to become more holistic in some senses of the word, but I don't know.
I shouldn't twist. Doctor told me not to twist.
Yeah.
Well, when you have to reach for something in the backseat of your car, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like what the doctor means is you shouldn't really twist into your low back and you shouldn't crank into your low back and you probably shouldn't laterally flex and load in the
At the
lateral
same
flexion
time.
too and do really bad Russian twists and things like that. But all he says is don't twist. And then we have to, figure out a way to still get that. Well, hey, guess what? If you twist from your thoracic spine, then you're saving your lumbar spine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole premise of,
Yeah.
doing a good warm up. But all we get is these sound bites of I shouldn't squat, I shouldn't twist, I shouldn't lunge. And then we have to somehow pick up the pieces and make sense of it.
Yeah. I think what it comes down to is we become the educators. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, but there's clearly just a lack of desire to educate clientele and patients within the medical industry, whether it's on nutrition or whether it's on cardiovascular disease or diabetes. And, like if you have a diabetic patient and you take the time to maybe explain how diabetes is caused on a cellular level and what that looks like, they have a lot more information to go home with than just like, I have diabetes and I got to get my A1C down, so here's a prescription, and obviously we're generalizing, right? But there's still a far different ratio than 50-50. So moving in the right direction.
Yeah, but also to their credit, there's a lot of really bad trainers out there that will hurt people.
Without a doubt.
And there's more bad trainers out there than good trainers.
What are your thoughts on the ease of acquiring a physical personal training certification?
Yeah, well, there's no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
I've actually met trainers that don't even have a certification because it wasn't required by the law technically. Yeah. And also seen trainers that like it's great that they passed a national recognized certification and you got your certificate, but that means you're ready to put someone's body and life in your hands and tell them what to do. That's where I really recommend mentorships and internships where you can shadow people and you can be in facilities and you can learn from those who have learned from others. And just not having any real structure. One of the people that I follow very closely and that I highly respect from our area is Eric Cressy. Eric Cressy brought up one time, there's no barrier to entry, and how everyone who comes to his facility goes through his mentorship or internship program, who ends up potentially working there, or at the very least he just takes a select few and says, hey, you may want to go through this mentorship internship. It'd probably be good for your career, and he compared it to his wife, who is I believe she's an optometrist, and she, like, to become an optometrist, she had to go through 6 months of residence, then she had to take this, and then she had to do this, and then only then she would start to work in an office as an assistant, or something along those lines. I probably really butchered that, but it was something along those lines. And what do you have to do to become a trainer? Nothing. No, you literally have to do nothing. And then you can create a social media page and put, virtual trainer, and now you're a virtual trainer. You don't even have experience training anybody in person. And now you're calling yourself an online coach, and you're using the word coach. Like, do you know how to coach, or do you just give people, mountain climbers and burpees, and, that's your online coaching, right? So I feel like it's extremely important to have some type of structure, have some type of plan that you can go through, which is where you could see the good gyms who have that. That's why I highly respect Equinox. Which there's a lot of people that can say a lot of different things about Equinox, but one thing, before all this went down, one thing that they prided themselves on was education. And you don't get the opportunity to even be in front of a person until you've gone through their curriculum. And then even when you've gone through their curriculum, to get to the next level, you have to take more education, and you have to go through different sets of curriculum. And then you're watching the other trainers, and you're doing the floor hours, and you're seeing good training and not so good training. So the ability to have a mentor is extremely important, and we've all had them, and we all can be them. We all can be one. I always say there's plenty of people in front of us that we aspire to be, or we want to do the things that they're doing. And there's plenty of people that are behind us that aspire to get where we are or do what we do. So it's very simple. The people that are in front of us, you try to learn from them and have them be your mentors. And the people that are behind you, you say, hey, come here, let me show you some things, and you pay it forward. That's how we'll hopefully continue to raise the bar. Yeah,
that's one thing that I've found cool and awesome, and being able to kind of do that at GNO is definitely we sat down and went through small parts of it, but the onboarding process and the onboarding manual and the education that we're giving to our fit pros, and me being able to facilitate that and hand that off and explain some of those things has been, you learn when you teach. Like, having knowledge here doesn't really do anything for anybody unless you're sharing it. And it's been awesome. It's been fun to be able to do that, because I'm not necessarily the oldest or the most experienced, but I would say that I just have an eye for it and a good sense of those things. So being able to share some of that stuff, and the educational side has been huge. It's been fun. And it, once again, like you said, it just breeds more people that allow us to make those small changes within the community of personal training and the crossover of medical professionals working together over time. It's not just going to happen. We have to do it the same way. I do my internal and external rotation on a daily basis. It's like, by slowly progressing and sharing information and doing more things like this, and having more readily available information for people to aspire to or to learn from, just adds to the stockpile, I guess you could say. So I have one more question for you, Gio, but I want you to tell everyone where they can follow you, where they can get your emails and your daddy blogs and your whatever, anything and everything.
Well, what they should do is they should go to Twitter and go to your Twitter page, and then look at my Twitter from your followers. So I'm trying to funnel everyone through.
Yes. You, no, right? I like that. I like that. And the only reason you can do that is because my following list is like this big.
I'm now number 21.
Yes.
But I try to keep it very simple. So Giovanni Roselli .com is my website, and all my social media is at Giovanni Roselli. So pretty simple stuff there. And then I'll always have an article that I've posted, or something that I've written, or a video to share, or a wrap up of a workshop, or announcement of an upcoming workshop, and things like that. So that's where you'll be able to find me. Cool.
And all that stuff will be linked below. You guys will be able to find that. If there was one resource that you could turn to for, I'll put it on 3 different platforms. So one book, one audiobook or podcast, and one account that people could follow or pay attention to for overall better fitness and health tips, what would you say that would be?
As far as book, depending on the audience here, I'll always, one of the first books I'll say is Movement by Gray Cook. And also, Becoming a Supple Leper by Kelly Starrett.
I don't think I know that.
And, there's a lot of great books, but those are the two that come to mind when you're really looking at, just overall looking at the body from a movement-based perspective and not from a independent, perspective.
Region or muscle or joint. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. What about a podcast?
Yeah, I mentioned his name, but I really enjoy Eric Cressy's podcast.
Cool.
Even though they're baseball heavy. He's a baseball guy. He got hired by the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
But you don't get hired by the New York Yankees if you're not really freaking good at what you do.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the things that he talks about could be generalized to non-baseball, population. And I have a specific interest in it because of shoulder stuff and how interested I am in shoulder. So he obviously talks a lot about overhead athletes and throwing and shoulders, and things of that sort, and how he ties that in. So I always have a specific interest, in his stuff there.
Cool.
And what was the other one?
Like an account or a page to follow. Yeah.
Oh man. There's a
There's
lot.
a lot.
Bad ones.
Yeah. I'll tell you which ones to not follow.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because who puts out some really good stuff. I'm trying to think of things other than I've mentioned. And it's because honestly, one of the things I would have said was, and I'm not blowing smoke, is Eric Cressy's content is very educational. Yeah. He explains everything so that you can understand it, but he explains everything in a way that you can't really argue with, because he's stating facts and truth. So I guess I'm just
that's fun.
Kissing up to Eric right now. But, I've been up to his facility several times, and I watch him from afar, and I always look at all his stuff. He's got a great email list too, where he just sends out content a couple times a week via email. I try to sign up for as many emails as I can, so I'm just constantly being bombarded with education as well. A lot of it now is given away for free, a free article, free video, free this, free that. So there's a lot of good content out there.
Yeah, there's definitely no drought of educational resources in the age of YouTube and websites and blogs and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. You can find, it's just a matter of people looking, in all due respect, right?
Yeah. Well, the dangerous part is, just be careful where you look, or be careful, what you're
looking for. Yeah. So that was my little precursor fitness question. All right. The last question is, you have three people that you can have a 30-minute conversation with, dead, alive, imaginary, up to you. You get 30 minutes to have a conversation with three different individuals.
Okay. Man, I wish I had some prep time.
That's the idea. We get an insight to your brain, who quickly comes up.
So the first one would probably be Jesus. The second one would probably be my grandmother, who passed away. And who would the third one be? I want to sit down. I want to have a conversation with somebody. Man, those are the two quick ones. I'm trying to think like is it like health related? Is it fitness related? You know, it may be someone like a Michael Jordan. If he's been in the news recently a lot, but Abraham Lincoln has quite the story. I don't know if you're familiar with what he went through in his life, but he has quite the story, and I can even send it to you. Like year after year, he like lost the Senate, lost Congress. His fiance died. He ran for this, didn't get enough votes. Like he was like for years and years and years, he owed debt. It took him 20 years to pay it back. He went through all this stuff. So I found him a pretty interesting character.
I like that.
So yeah, maybe like a past president, something along those lines, or even like a Michael Jordan type, Kobe Bryant, even a Kobe Bryant type person, because I've studied a lot of their mindset and what they do, and I find them extremely fascinating from a work ethic standpoint. So someone that third person would be someone that I want to know about, or I'm just fascinated by their work ethic and one of my favorite words is perseverance. Someone who has shown perseverance in their lives.
Valid. That's usually what gets my engine going, for sure, is realizing that everyone's got a story, and it can either be what makes your story, your obstacles and challenges can be what makes your story that much more great or that much more ordinary. And those people that do push through, that move beyond, that don't let that be their reality, really speak from like a spiritual level and from a motivational. And
your boy Tom Brady, drafted in the 6th round, passed over, 199th pick. Didn't really start in high school, barely got playing time in college.
Michigan. He was the 4th quarterback at Michigan.
Yeah, and he's been to 9 freaking Super Bowls. So if you don't at least respect that, then you have no work ethic at all. Mm-hmm. So I'd actually put him up there as well. He's a little more accessible. Like I'm trying to think of people that aren't like really accessible or just like a dream to be. But yeah.
No, that's a good point. I like those. Definitely gives people insight as to what's going on inside of the individual's head, what's going on, who they're thinking about, who they admire, what makes them who they are, what makes them.
If you just open this up, it's really just a hamster running in a wheel. Sometimes it's just like really slow. Sometimes it gets really fast.
And he's the one remembering all those sayings too, huh? Yeah. Gio, I appreciate this, man. This was fun. This was a good time. I'm sure we could do this again in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk to like-minded individuals.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll probably see you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime during the week. Yeah. Until then, enjoy some time with your family.
I will.
Enjoy some time in the sun if it decides to stay bright skied for the next couple of days. We'll see. But
I hope so.
Yeah. And for everyone watching, until next time, be limitless, and thanks for listening. Adios. What's up, LT Tribe? DFOS here. just to express my gratitude and say thank you for tuning in and continuously commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing to the episodes and the content that we are bringing you. It is helping so much. Once again, I want to say thank you and hope you have a great rest of your day. These times there's one thing that we can count on to keep us connected, and that is the one and only video conferencing platform, Zoom. Zoom is an amazing platform. It's the very platform that I use to record the visual portion of the LT360 podcast. I also used it today to share a business plan and stay connected with someone that wanted to learn more about products and services that we offer. And I also used it to train a virtual personal training client this morning. It is virtually simplistic, very simplistic. Anybody can use it, and we just scored an amazing deal. As unfranchised owners, you can get the $160 valued membership through Zoom for just $9.99 per month. Instead of paying $160 per month for unlimited recording access and storage and tons of other features, you can pay $9.99 per month and save nearly $1,800 per month. You best believe it. I signed up. I created and transferred my account over to this pro account, and I will not be looking back, because that $9.99 per month that I'm paying also comes with a residual 15% IBV commissions. Each and every month that I pay out $9.99, I'm getting 15% commissions on that in the form of IBV, and I cannot think of an easier and better way to stay connected with my team and help my team get paid. So make sure you head over to your back office, go to my account, go to my services, and look up Zoom video conferencing. You will not be disappointed. Let's all use Zoom to help us stay connected and get financially fit together. What's up, Limitless Theory Tribe? Hope you enjoyed the episode. I wanted to take a second to shout out a childhood neighbor of mine, Victor Rosa. He just started a new podcast. Would love for you guys to go support. It's called Real Recognize Real. Just two dudes who love movies, all right? They are going to watch all the movies they can so they can give you quick and insightful reviews on them. These guys have education backing these reviews. They're not just throwing out random opinions. Once again, they are going to see the movies so that you don't have to. So go check them out. Real Recognize Real. Peace. DFOS here. I know y'all understand how much of a nutrition freak I am. And when I heard the world's most nutrient-dense food, you know I had to tune in, listen, and get learnt. So I need y'all to check out the LT360 podcast I did with Catherine Arnston, the founder of Energy Bits, an algae-based nutrition company. It is not a supplement. It is a one-ingredient superfood, and it is recognized as the most nutrient-dense food on the planet by the World Health Organization and others. So go check out energybits.com and make sure to use the discount code Limitless Theory at checkout for 20% off. You will not be disappointed, because you will have the most nutrient-dense food in your pantry in the world. Go check it out now. Peace. DFOS here to tell you about my new favorite kitchen appliance. And no, it is not a pan or even a utensil, but instead it is my new pure H2O water filter. It sits behind my kitchen sink. It removes up to 97% of chlorine from my tap water and 77 other contaminants. We know that our bodies are made up of 72% water, and there is a strong connection between the quality of the water that we intake and the quality and longevity of our life. So we have to make sure it is the cleanest and purest water we can get. With Pure H2O, I know that every time I turn my sink on, I'm getting the best and cleanest water possible. So if you want to learn more, head over to thelimitlesstheory.com/shop and you can learn more about Pure H2O. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. Adios.